one of the biggest moments in golf in this century, and one that continually is talked about, is the British Open 1972 at Muirfield. You and Lee Trevino, and Jack, of course, was chasing the third leg of the slam and finished a shot behind Lee Trevino. Take us through, as we look at the tape together, and the two of you are 6 under par, leading Jack by a shot. What happened, and as we hear it from you, the player. Let's take a look. 1972, 71st hole, Muirfield, the Open Championship.
Well, Lee had the honor there. Of course, it'd take me, I think, this far to get level with him, and he hit a hook off of that tee. And Lee didn't hook. You know, he was hitting fades all day long, all week long. And the fact that the ball went left into that trap there told me that, you know, he was feeling it. He was feeling the heat. So you saw there he could only just move the ball forward. I'd hit a perfect tee shot into a good position. The green was just out of range. There he goes again, Lee, and where do you think that's gone? Straight left again. He's hooked it again. You can see by his attitude and the swing that he's angry, and he's, you know, I felt I had him at that stage. I couldn't help but feel it. You know, I wasn't sort of banking on anything, but, you know, I was quietly confident that I had him. And there he goes for 4. He's played his 4th before I've played my 3rd. No grip there. The green was like very hard, and really that's one of the things that I actually thought I would get more release on this ball, on this pitch shot than I got. I'm coming out of the semi, as you can see.
So you hit the shot you intended.
Well, I didn't. It wasn't as bad as a lot of people. I mean, afterwards, I remember Tom Weiskopf saying it was a lousy shot and this, that, and the other, but it just didn't go like I felt it would. The green was shiny. You know, we didn't have quite so much water around in those days. And then here it is, the infamous, as far as I'm concerned.
It's going to go in again, Tony.
Yeah, and he'd done it two out of the last 3 holes on the 3rd round. And of course, and my immediate reaction to that was, oh, you son of a gun, you're not going to beat me like that. And of course, I stood over my putt here trying to make it, and I took a run at it. Now, if I'd have been a bit more patient, which isn't my way, I could have just you know, I could have put it up the edge of the hole. I wasn't in such a state but I just put it to that awkward distance. And then, of course, that happened. And, you know, I got my comeuppance for being too aggressive. And, you know, I'd been so patient the whole darn week. And I lost the patience on that 4th shot there on the birdie putt, and run it by. And of course I bogeyed 18, knowing it was lost. I mean, he on 18 hit the most beautiful tee shot ahead of me, straight split the fairway, and Jack snuck in between Lee and I. I finished 3rd in the end.
Now, Tom Weiskopf, who you just mentioned, said that your strongest attribute as a player was your incredibly tough and resilient mental attitude towards staying with the program, shot after shot, hole after hole, grinding it out, understanding that there's going to be bad breaks even if you've hit a good shot. Now, you've said subsequently on a number of occasions that that tournament changed you forever and that it took something out of you. Why should something that you were accustomed to seeing, a Lee Trevino chip in, a couple of lucky shots the day before, have thrown you off so much that it changed your life?
Well, of course, now, 30 years on, or 28 years on, I realize that to be around at the top of the game, if you're around long enough, everything's going to happen to you. Greg Norman can vouch for that, for one. I mean, and he's only one, and there's other guys. I think at the time, I was under a lot of pressure, as I said, living at home, defending the fact that I'd won 2 majors in 69 and 70. I was having this runaround, and I was already getting a little bit jaded with it, you know, and it took, coming into that Open in 72, I wasn't playing that well, but I dug as deep as I could. I putted nicely for the most part that week. And it did knock the stuffing out of me to a large degree. But I mean, one should get over that in a course of a year or 6 months, you know. But the rot set in as far as I was concerned, and I think, but I don't think it was that. With the best will in the world, with hindsight, and I've often thought about it, I don't think it was so much that. I think that became a key moment in the difference of the way I played. I mean, I won tournaments all the way through to 1979, but never featured in majors anymore. It did me for majors, and but I think basically I'd just got to the point where I was, you know, I was a bit fed up of it. Whether I really wanted to live in this sort of, with all this attention and being in the UK, Britain, because I was headlines whether I shot 75 or 65. And because I won 2 Opens, I was supposed to win ordinary tournaments with a hand tied behind my back. And, you know, and I took a lot of what was, I shouldn't, but what was written to heart. You know, you can't ignore, you try not to read the pen, but then somebody comes up to you and stuffs it in front, you know. You don't get that quite so much here in this country, and I can only tell you that there was nobody to share it with at the time. There was no Ballesteros around, there was no Faldo around, there was no Langer and Lyle and, you know, the other major winners. And I was sort of, not making any excuses, but it was a situation that I tired of after a while. And I really, I got to the point, I didn't want all that unnecessary attention. And had I been here, in this country, I wouldn't have had it, because I would just been one of a whole bunch of fellas that could play the game of golf very well.
Thanks for sharing that with us again. Thanks for opening your heart on that again. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Tell me about the things that you're doing now that are making you happy business-wise.
Well, I wanted to do more design. I've done a few courses around the world, but not very many, because I didn't really have the time. And I about 3 or 4 years ago, I met up with Mike Fernandez, who's long experience in the golf business, knew Jack for years, and Lee and various other players. We've got together, and we've got a project very close to where I'm sitting now in Kissimmee, and we've got 36 holes there to build on a terrific site right near a big lake, and I'm very excited about that. I'll be working with Charlie Mahana. I feel I'm a traditionalist, and Charlie certainly is, and we want to build, you know, golf courses that people can recover from. You know, I see so much, and I'm not knocking anybody's design. I'm not going to get into that, but I think a lot of these older courses really, you know, these guys were very, very good, and they've stood the test of time. We only have to see Pinehurst and what happens with the US Open. So we're excited about the prospect of working there at Edgewater, just not too far from the Epcot Center. So that's fun. And then with Michael Fernandez, we're doing a project in Bradenton, a golf center that's really kind of unique, right in the harbor. It's being built as we speak. The harbor there is huge. It's going to be an 80-acre harbor. Lots going on. And we'll have 3 greens out there in the water, and with lots of activity, not just for the kids, but for mom and dad as well. Lots to do, lots of facilities, nice restaurants, fun for the kids, putting courses, and all kinds of things. We're going to be, I'll have an academy in there, and we're going to be bringing kids from all over the world in to come and stay with us and have weeks there and spend their time. And that's going to be very fulfilling for me once it happens. But in the meantime, making it happen and getting involved in the detail of it is giving me an enormous amount of pleasure. And hopefully other things will, spin-offs will come from that. But we've got our work cut out. And I'm busy flitting between West Virginia, where I live now near the Greenbrier, and and Bradenton. So I'm a few days here and a few days there. But it's a lot of fun, and Mike and I are really going to put something very special together there, and I'm terribly excited about that.
Which of your sons are fighting with each other to determine which one will get to play with you in the next father-son Office Depot Challenge?
Well, Warren's not too thrilled with me. I've played Warren 4 times there in the father-son and enjoyed it, and we've had a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll have some more fun. But this year I'm hoping to play with Bradley, my eldest son, who's not a golfer. Bradley's a course superintendent in Stewart, Florida, or in Palm Beach. He lives in Stewart. And Brad's about a 10 handicap. But the format in the father-son is such that, I think Bradley could enjoy himself. And I asked him point blank, would it be too much for him in terms of, I don't want him saying yes and then seeing 500 people around the first tee and wishing he said no. And he assures me that that's what he'd like to do, so I said I'd give him a pop this year. And I would like to play with AJ as well. I have an 18-year-old son who's a good player, a lot better player than Bradley is. But, I hope his time will come too. The objective for me is it's nice if you do well, but actually playing with your boys in a situation that's competitive like that is more what it's about, to let them experience what I have done for so long. And, they may appreciate a bit more of what one has to go through.
When we come back, let's have a little chat about one of your old, late friends. We'll do that in just a moment. Stay with us. We try to pick a great question every week on Golf Talk Live for our guest, and the question tonight for Tony is, tell us about your friendship with the late Bert Yancey from Dan Young in Provo, Utah.
Well, Bert and I got together, I think, around about 1967, the year I got my card. He'd come over and played the Alcan tournament that year or the year before at Birkdale. And we just got together and befriended each other. And Tom Weiskopf was the third man in the group. We played a lot of practice rounds together. Bert and my first wife, Vivian, and Bert and Linda, his wife, spent a lot of time, and we went and visited with them up in Maine at their place in the summer, or up at Kennebunk, and had lots of fun together. And Bert actually was the one who put me to bed the night before I won the British Open in '69. I was in such a state that I took a sleeping pill, and I was falling asleep in the chair, and Bert actually tucked me in next to my wife. I didn't know what it was doing, but I had an 8 hours solid sleep, which was great. Bert was a great friend, and I miss him a lot. He was a great guy.
Jerry in Arizona has a question he'd like to ask you. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hi, Peter. I really enjoy your show.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, TJ.
Hi, Jerry.
How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Listen, I've been reading a lot about combining the Ryder Cup with the President's Cup. The U.S. players play every year now, and I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Well, I don't think, I think the Ryder Cup's where it needs to be, quite frankly, and I don't think it needs any help. That would be my answer to that one, Jerry. I think the President's Cup's going to be a great success. It is a great success already, and it's given the players who looked at the Ryder Cup with envy but couldn't compete, Nick Price and Greg and a bunch of the others, Craig Parry, and they all know who they are. It's given them an opportunity to compete in a similar arena, and seems to me like they catch the same spirit that we do in Ryder Cups, and I think all's well with the world as far as international match play is concerned.
Very quickly, on match play, is it important for the players to have had Ryder Cup match play experience? Is it particularly important if you've never undergone that particular sense of pressure before? Briefly.
I think, I wouldn't say necessarily Ryder Cup match play. I think some players are better match players than others, just the personalities.
Tiger Woods, Sergio Garcia come instantly to mind as the kind of players who would love matches.
Yeah, some are aggressive. Some great players would be protecting their territory, and on that basis, they're not very good match players. You know, match play brings another element into the game altogether, to the point where the underdog feels that, you know, on his day, he could beat the king of the world. We saw Tiger last year, and no disrespect to him, because we all know what a great player he is, but I think an Italian gentleman may have beaten him at Valderrama, and there was a situation that you know, a point. You know, everybody's vulnerable in match play, and sometimes the bigger the name, the more vulnerable they are because of this. I just wish we had more of it. I just really do wish we saw more match play. I wish sponsors would warm to it. I know they think the marquee player gets, if he gets beat the first day, you know, his money's not been well spent, but, you know, we've seen enough to see how, I think the public love that kill or be killed situation. And that's what we would do if we went out and played tomorrow morning. We'd play match play. That's what everybody does all over the land. And we're stuck with, seemingly to me anyway, week in, week out, stroke play, guys playing careful golf, don't do this, don't do that, hit the green, I might make the putt. Match play is a different deal altogether. You got to fire at the flag, take a 9, it don't matter, scrub it off it's just a loss of a hole. Different mentality, and I think different personalities play it better. And that's why when I was captain, I wanted 3 choices, and I had 3 choices. Because if the guy was languishing down at 20th spot in the order of merit, but was a keen match player, I wanted him on my team. So there we are.
And if we go out tomorrow morning, it'll only be 10 holes and you'll be able to go home immediately. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Kind of report card do you give yourself as a father?
Oh boy. You ask some questions, you do. I think I'm a good dad, basically. I haven't spent as much time with the kids as I'd like to have done, but I tell you what, they've turned out as a group unbelievable, unbelievable. And whether that's a credit to me or my wife Astrid and Vivian before her, I don't know, but I think we've all done our bit, and we've tried to teach them. I think the hardest thing in the world to teach today to children is values. There's so much peer pressure out there at school and in the world that they live, and values are like the fundamentals of the game of golf. They don't change. You know, a good grip's always a good grip. You know, ball position's always going to be important. Where you're aiming is important. Those things never change, and they're never going to change, in my view, with being a good person. And we've always had rules, and you know, in the house that, you know, behavioral rules that I think have been very important. And but they've been the credit to me up to now, all of them. And I hope I can say that I've been as much of a credit to them.
What about this makes you cry like that?
I love family, you know, and that's what it's all about for me.
Are you really not going to play St. Andrews next year?
Really, I'm not going to play St. Andrews next year, because I wouldn't, if I'll be at St. Andrews, and I'm looking forward to going to the dinner on the Tuesday night in the old course. Past champions are all invited, of course, and I'll be there. And if I played, I wouldn't enjoy it. I'd make myself unhappy. And I don't want to be unhappy. I want to be happy. So I'll be able to go there. I'll be able to see a lot of old friends and do a lot of things that, you know, do some business maybe. But that makes me happy. The thought of progressing, you know, my career in design and building some more business opportunities. I've done golf as a player, and I've loved it and had a good time at it, and I have no regrets about it. It's very simple, and I'm on the next bit now, and looking forward to it.
It's just a great pleasure to spend time with you, and I hope we get a chance to do this a lot more times in the future. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you for being here. Good night, everybody.